Business Now Capital Edition is brought to you by Sprint. Sprint together with Nextel. Yes, you can.
While the Cold War was raging, a one-time Illinois farm boy turned senior Pentagon scientist used his $5,500 savings account to create a company that today has been called a national treasure.
Joseph Rozek is a former White House Special Assistant to the President for Homeland Security. He was in the Pentagon when the terrorists struck on 9/11. Rozek knows SPC and admires its founder, Ron Easley.
He got in there, rolled up his sleeve, and helped, and was instrumental in helping the United States win the Cold War. Prior to 9/11 and shortly thereafter, Ron looked at what he could do in terms of Homeland Security and reorganized his company to begin focusing on that.
Founder, Chairman, and CEO Ron Easley is modest about SPC's achievements. But on reflection, he believes another of the company's greatest contributions has been helping develop our stealthy weapons system, ultimately aiding the U.S. in how to design a nearly invisible plane or ship.
There we were able to take other ideas and apply them to the requirements of the country, namely how do you build an airplane that looks no bigger on a radar than a BB. And then if you have the BB, how do you tell if it's still a BB?
SPC's expertise in detection of low observables has led to numerous radar advances and patents. The latest is EDAP, Enhanced Detection Adjunct Processor. Not a very sexy name, but EDAP will be used to detect small boats which might prey on cruise ships or attack U.S. warships. EDAP might have prevented the suicide attack on the guided missile destroyer USS Cole in Yemen waters in 2000.
And SPC has found some innovative approaches for suppressing that sea clutter return to make it easier to detect particularly small targets on the sea surface.
It takes about 6 scans and you'll see the nuisance targets generally disappear, and what remains on the screen is simply the target of interest at about 7 miles range.
EDAP was recently tested for the Navy using a small reflector target riding on an inner tube.
Frankly, it's one of the developments that I believe could revolutionize the ability of existing commercial radars, navigation radars, to take on this type of threat.
At SPC's indoor radar range in Arlington, the company also is experimenting with its radar to map oil leaks during drilling under ice.
It's that risk-taking, that problem-solving, that innovative spirit which really leads to the breakthroughs and keeps things fresh, frankly.
That spirit is evident throughout the Arlington-based company, according to Charles Cragen, former acting Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness.
SPC is a company that has bright, motivated, talented people with diverse backgrounds who come together and can collaborate on these new ideas and serve our customers by assisting them as they look for new ways to protect America.
Another example of SPC's ingenuity is its development of a garnet charge, a countermeasure to be used by bomb squads against fusing and firing systems in vehicle bombs or explosives used by suicide bombers.
If you can interrupt that firing train at any point prior to it getting to the main charge, then you win. It doesn't matter how complicated that device is. It's not simply trying to get something into the marketplace. It has to be effective. It has to be reliable, because those are our brothers that are going to use it.
Throughout its history, SPC has supported the Pentagon's research and development arm, DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency.
We have a direct impact on the war on terrorism and to supporting the folks on the front line. And in addition to that, our work in the current arena, we are helping to develop technologies that lead to real products 10 to 15 years in the future.
And we understand where technology is going. But number two, we understand the needs of the end user, such as the soldier in the battlefield or the first responder at the local and state level.
Since its founding in 1981, the Tri-Data division of SPC has developed an international reputation for expertise in fire and rescue, emergency medical services, and assisting the first responder. TriData maintains a national database of more than 15 million emergency incidents.
TriData has done some landmark studies as far as the psychological aspects of firefighter safety, some deployment things, comparing the American fire service with the international fire community. It's just study after study that pushes the advancement of the American fire service.
The data in TriData is there intentionally, and we try to lay out the numbers for the citizens so that it's not just a question of politicians arguing which neighborhood should get another station or citizen pressures, but saying, okay, here's what it's going to cost to add resources.
We aren't just your typical Beltway bandits with a Washington mentality. Rather, we come from the trenches. Almost all of us have been emergency managers, fire chiefs, police officers, disaster coordinators.
Arlington County Fire Chief James Schwartz was in command when the fire and rescue teams responded to the 9/11 attack on the Pentagon.
When the policymakers in Arlington County saw the experience of 9/11 and were able to hold that up as a representation of some of the things, a real-world experience of some of the things that TriData had identified in the study that they had done just a year before, I think it really helped to motivate the policymakers to start to move in the direction to make some of the changes that were necessary.
When SPC celebrated its 35th anniversary at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum, veteran employees were reminded by the missiles in the background that from its inception, SPC is focused on threat and risk assessment. And since 9/11, SPC scientists have been working to prevent another devastating attack on the U.S., this one by sea.
I think we have the only correct approach to the problem. The problem is very specific. Shipping containers are one way for terrorists to put a nuclear weapon into a port in the U.S. and explode it.
SPC believes it has the answer, a system for monitoring shipborne containers around the world. It's now testing its third generation of the system it calls Global Track. And as this work goes on, Dr. Ron Easley and the SPC team are tireless in their search for the next breakthrough technology.
If we could just put together all the technology of the world into one search engine so that people could solve their problems by pushing logical buttons, it would be a phenomenal revolution.